Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to NRRL once more, where in the Season 2, Round 7 division of NRRL, we are here tonight for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. My name is Jack, I'm your commentator, and we are live tonight for an 18-minute qualifying, followed by a 50% race that will no doubt impress under the lights. As we know, the big, I would say, gambling capital of America. And is there anyone out there on track tonight looking to make a gamble that could see themselves towards the top of the pile? Before we race, we must qualify, and this hopefully should be a brilliant one. 19 drivers out on track. Tyrone in the TikTok chat asking, can you join the race? You do need to be on the Discord server if you are looking to race, my friend. I do believe I invited you on Friday, if not Sunday, I believe. So if you haven't already, get involved in the Discord server. If you ping either Michaela or Dan Lovett, they will get back to you and you will be able to race next time out, I believe, on Friday. First driver out on track tonight is Hash, and he will be making his way towards the very famous Las Vegas Strip. And he will be the first man to attack this circuit. The link should still work for you, Tyrone, if you go back in our DMs. I believe I sent you an infinite lasting one. So that should still work. Absolutely no problem. I do believe it is too late to join TJP Gamer. If you're already in the Discord, then get yourself sorted out. If not, as Dan Lovett's just said in chat, get yourself in the Discord and either Dan or Michaela or whoever will sort you out. We're currently on board with Hash, who is just making his way towards the first corner now, and will be the first man to look to attack this circuit, but he's already invalidated at turn 1, and quite a weird place to invalidate there, I must say. I believe next driver coming to the line to begin a lap will be Ben Trott, and it will be Ben Trott, so we will stick on board with him through turn 1. He goes, makes sure to avoid the invalidation as Hash did. Ben Trott just coming through now. I will see if I can get a Discord link posted in the Twitch chat. Dan, while you're here, actually, I have been meaning to bring this up. The TikTok bio needs a permanent link because the link expires after some time. Let me just load Twitch on my phone. If anyone's commenting on TikTok, I do apologise. Let me just get this link posted in the Twitch chat if I can. There we are. Right, so if anyone is looking to join in the action, make sure you are joining up through the Discord. And we will try and get as many people involved. Full grid tonight. I think we're missing one driver, but they're joining potentially during qualifying. So we will see how that goes. Ben Trott stealing a little bit of the slipstream from the back of the Red Bull there, coming through the final chicane now. Keeps it tight and neat, avoids those track limit invalidations. And Ben Trott drives for the line. First man he will be to set a lap. And Ben comes around the final corner for a 31.7. To be honest, I can't tell you what a good time is around Las Vegas, but that's definitely not a bad one, let's say. Billy Mewis is coming towards the line now, as is Nova Piper. Nova Piper just through that final chicane. A little bit laggy is Nova Piper, as always, with the beautiful purple helmet. Coming through the final corner now. Can Nova Piper displace the Aston Martin? He cannot. It's very, very close between them, but nothing doing for him. Billy Mewis next to attack the line. He comes across the line, 31.8. So very, very close between all of the three drivers that have set laps thus far. Hori's getting a great slipstream, I believe, from his teammate as Mikey GTI goes to provisional pole by about 3 milliseconds, which is absolutely insane stuff. We've also got F1 Mikey Boy setting a lap. He's only 35 milliseconds off of it as well. Hor with an incredible slipstream. Surely this will be the fastest final sector as MCL absolutely blitzes everyone, as he always does. Hoare goes up into second and reduces that deficit between first and second, as we have Andy Price setting his lap with a 1:32.2. Next driver to cross the line will be Humbled for the Works Mercedes-Benz. Comes round the final corner now. Humbled slots it into P8. Next man will be Ginger Nut. Through the final corner he comes, goes into P10. Joins his teammate on the 5th row of the grid. And I believe next driver to cross the line will be Ollie Southall for Williams. Deploying the battery all the way down this iconic Las Vegas strip. And let's see where Ollie can slot himself. One chicane to go now. A little bit deeper on the brakes than you probably would like, but nothing that will harm him too much, as he now comes and drives to the line. Just a little bit of a left-hand kink. He's already deployed all of his ERS though, so might be a bit of a slower final sector than he would have liked. He goes into 11th with a 33.4. Jamsey goes into P8 with a 31.8. Dinosaur will be fighting towards the line, as will Matt Connor, who is next to cross the line. And Matt Connor goes up to P12 with a 32.950. We now look to Dinosaur, who comes through the final corner. Goes P10 with a 32.1. Durex is just on his first lap, coming through the first sector. Now you can see those times really from P3 all the way down to about P8, all within about a tenth of each other. But out in front, MCL doing MCL things and absolutely dominating, which is what he always tends to do, is MCL, and you can't fault him for it. Absolutely incredible driver. Ollie Southall just making his way through the middle sector and towards the Las Vegas strip. He's got a slow-moving Mercedes ahead of him, but you would assume that that will all be sorted by the time Ollie approaches. 56.3 middle sector split for the Williams driver as he races down the Las Vegas strip now. Those two cars ahead of him will get out of the way, one of those being his Williams teammate. The Mercedes overtakes that Williams, lets the Williams of Durex go through. Durex now driving for the line, getting it very close to the outside wall. Nothing that will plague him too much as he drives for the line now. Can he beat his teammate? That's crucial. Goes into P10 with a 32.1. Decent lap from the Williams driver. He'll be happy with that. First man you want to beat in Formula 1 is your teammate. Being 5 places ahead of him is definitely not a bad result. Hash is now just coming down the main straight. Nova Piper has crucially left the session, it would seem. Hopefully we can get him back in as soon as possible. A couple more drivers on laps as well. F1 Mikey Boy going for it again. Definitely going to look to reduce that deficit between himself and the front row of the grid. Hash going to look to get his first time on the board. Currently P17 for Alpine, completely running out of battery as he drives towards the line now. And Hash goes into P14 with a 1:32.2. We will now watch F1 Mikey Boy as he makes his way towards the Vegas strip, bumping over the sausage curbs. Although he is in none, actually, now that I think about it. So going for a double outlap, as Mikey does quite often like to do. Billy Mewis is just coming through the first sector. Ben Trott is just coming through the first sector. Ginger Nut making his way through the second sector, as we've got a yellow flag and Hash has gone off at, I believe, turn 3. Just looking to do a cheeky little 3-point turn and get himself out of that runoff zone. And he executes that, gets himself going once more. Liggs is just going on to his first flying lap, as is Meloon. Mikey actually comes into the pit lane, interestingly enough. So next man to complete a flying lap will be Ginger Nut, although Ginger Nut is maybe doing another slowdown lap himself. So Billy Mewis will be next to cross the line. He's just coming down the Las Vegas strip. Makes his way towards the final chicane. Stand on the brake pedal. Get it tipped in nicely. That's absolutely perfect from Billy Mewis. Currently a 31.8. Definitely one of the drivers you would expect to be up there. Billy just through this left-hand kink of the final corner now. Improves up to P3 with a 31.5. Good improvement from Billy. Now we look to Ben Trott, who's currently P6 and goes fastest with a 31.2. And no disrespect to Ben, but I did not expect that. Incredible lap from Ben Trott. Wow. Absolutely brilliant. As Hoare goes into P3 with a 131.4. Absolutely insane stuff from Ben Trott. Now, MCL and Mikey will have a chance to reply to that. But that is a beautiful lap. MCL is just about to go onto his lap now. We've got one of the Williams boys out on track, I believe. That's Ollie Southall. Humboldt has invalidated his lap. Liggs went into P17 with a 33.1. Just Sidemen yet to set a lap time, but we're going to stick with MCL, the man that's looking to take provisional pole position back away. It's only got to gain about 20 milliseconds to do it. But this is definitely going to put a little bit more pressure on MCL than he would have liked. He's a 10th up though. And I can tell you from experience with racing with this man around this very circuit, MCL, a very, very quick driver. And it's going to take a hell of a lot to stop him. As he comes through the middle sector now, we've got a yellow flag. I think that was just the Red Bull letting someone go through. So here comes MCL then towards the Las Vegas strip. He's left all that battery that he possibly can. Looking to steal a little bit of a slipstream from the V car. Won't get much, but I guess, as Tesco say, every little helps. As he now comes once again down the strip. Is there any time in the bag for MCL? He was definitely up through the first sector. Didn't manage to catch the second sector. Bouncing over the sausage curbs in the final sector as Jamsey goes up into P3 and right with the two leaders here. MCL, can he snatch back that pole position? He can. It's only by 20 milliseconds. It was a 40 millisecond improvement. But now with 3 cars up there, potentially even 4, this is going to get very close. Billy Mewis is on a lap and is just coming towards the Las Vegas strip. Mikey GTI set his lap and went up to P6 ahead of his Mikey counterpart. And this is getting very close now, especially if someone like Billy Mewis can try and improve his lap time a bit and get up there himself. He's just coming towards the final chicane. And as the time tumbles, so do the positions. Over the sausage curbs, he comes of the final sector and drives for the line. Is there improvement in that McLaren? He's evidently not improving because he's coming into the pit lane. So all eyes now turn to, I believe, Ginger Nut, who is just coming through the second sector, I believe, for Red Bull. I believe this is his third. No, this will be his second run. I believe he went long on the first run. Ginger Nut, that is one of his characteristics. He does like to get a few laps done on a set of soft tyres. Definitely making the most of them as he nicks a little bit of a slipstream from the Williams ahead of him, that being Ollie Southall. And Ginger Nut now through the final sector. We know how quick this man can be. Drives out of the final corner and towards the line. Thought about stealing a little bit of slipstream from the Sauber. Thought against it. And now through the final corner he comes. And he does improve up to P6. It's a 31.6 for Ginger Nut. But you can imagine he will probably stay out, let the tyres cool down, gain the battery, and then go again, as he always does. So most people in the pits now, Humbled and Liggs, are the two cars out on track. Both of them are on laps. Dinosaur is, I believe, just going onto a lap as well. Ginger Nut will just be doing his sort of reconnaissance lap for the time being. So we'll stick with Humbled for now as he makes his way down the strip. Currently 11th. Needs about a 10th improvement if he wants to gain any positions in the Mercedes. Through the final chicane he comes now. Little bit of the rear end stepping out, but nothing that will harm him too much. Keeps it well away from the barriers on the exit and drives for the line. Is it improvement for Humbled from P11? And it is big improvement for Humbled. Goes just behind his teammate. It's into P4 for the Mercedes driver. And that is absolutely brilliant from Humbled. Now Meloon is also on a lap. Dinosaur is just coming down the strip. And this is where traffic could pay dividends, as Liggs has invalidated his lap. So we will try and keep an eye on the top three as they're on their outlaps. They're just coming through the first sector, though, as we've got yellow flags in all sectors currently. Dinosaur just coming through the final chicane. That was a lot of the sausage curb, and that is an invalidation for Dinosaur. And you would imagine that is his qualifying over. He'll drive to the line anyway. We'll see what the lap time would have been. It's a 32.6. It's not improvement for Dinosaur. Meloon is just coming down the Las Vegas Strip now, getting a massive slipstream from his teammate. The Haas Team Games working beautifully as Hoare in P5 currently on his outlap drives for, well, what would be his career. I mean, very early on in his career, but looking to make a statement early. Meloon, a little bit more experience, brushing the walls as he comes out of the final corner. Surely this is improvement from P12 for Meloon. Comes towards the line now, goes up into P5, 10 milliseconds ahead of his teammate. But all eyes now can't speak English today, evidently. All eyes lean to Ben Trott as we've got a yellow flag there, and that was an Alpine straight into the wall. And that's Hash, who went straight on into the wall. Surely sustained some damage for that. But the top three now all on laps. MCL just coming through the first sector. Jamsey just coming through the first sector. Ben Trott just coming through the second sector. But Ben Trott is down on his lap and is in none. I think he's aborted this lap, Ben. He has. So Ben Trott will not improve from second on the grid. Next man to set a lap will be Jamsey, who has MCL right behind him as Billy Mewis finds a time to go to the top of the standings. Absolutely beautiful from the McLaren driver. We know how quick he can be. Puts himself onto provisional pole as Jamsey now comes to the end of the second sector, and he's a 10th down. Jamsey not improving. MCL is 2.5 tenths up. MCL knows that this has got to be the lap of the weekend. Is there improvement for the Sauber driver? There is through the first two sectors. Jamsey isn't improving. Ben Trott comes into the pits. We'll stick with Jamsey, who's got just a little bit of straight now as a big wobble out of the final corner, and surely no improvement for Jamsey as he drives to the line. He's coming into the pits. So can MCL snatch it away from Billy Mewis once more? He comes round the final corner. It's MCL's gamble in Las Vegas that takes him to the top of the timesheets. A 1:31 flat from MCL, and he is on pole position. It is Mikey who's just put in a lap good enough for 5th fastest. It's F1 Mikey Boy, currently 11th. Can he trouble the top of the timesheets? He can't. Only 10th for F1 Mikey Boy. I never thought I would be saying that. And that is your grid order then. It is MCL from Billy Mewis, from Ben Trott, Jamsey in 4th, and Mikey in 5th. But I have to say, the big shocks there are Mikey down in 10th, Ginger Nut in 11th, and Nova Piper in 12th. Hash in 13th, also a bit of a shock. You'd expect that Hash would do better. What a lap, though, from MCL to put himself back on the top of the standings. And I said it before, knowing from experience, this man most certainly is quick around this circuit. And once again, it looks like there is nothing standing between MCL and victory tonight. There is your classification then. It's MCL from Billy Mewis in second with Ben Trott in third. Jamsey lines up fourth with Mikey GTI in fifth and Humbled in sixth. Meloon and Hoare 7th and 8th for Haas with Andy Price in 9th and F1 Mikey Boy in 10th. Gingernut 11th with Nova Piper 12th. Hash in 13th. Sidemen 14th. Matt Connor 15th. Durex 16th with Dinosaur 17th. Ollie Southall in 18th and Liggs in 19th. Well, an action-packed qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. And this most certainly will not end here, as in about 5 minutes' time we'll have lights out for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. I don't think the time has been set to realistic, though, because it's looking very, very bright in Las Vegas tonight. I've just been told by Mikey that there will be a lobby restart if we can't all start the race. People are having connection issues. So there is potential for a lobby restart if the lobby decides to crash, but hopefully we will be all good. We can only hope. As we just get settled in now. Confirmation, we will be going at 27 minutes past 8. So in about 3 minutes' time, we will be underway. I would say under the lights in Las Vegas, but I don't think any of the lights are on. To be completely honest, it's looking like a daytime race, or I'd say probably an evening race. Potentially, I can see a little bit of sunset starting to creep in. Maybe it will get darker as the race goes on. But definitely for now, we are not racing under the lights in Las Vegas. Unless you want to count the sun as a light. Which I guess, yeah, technically sunlight. Although then all Formula 1 races would be under the lights. But speaking of lights, those fabled 5 red lights are ahead of the drivers, ahead of the Las Vegas Grand Prix, and it is lights out, and away we go. And Billy Mewis with a good start already, looking towards the inside of MCL, but MCL covers him off into turn 1 and through turn 2 as there's a bit of contact there, and that's Mikey GTI falling a bit far back as we've got a car round at the start, and that's Sidemen, who already started in last place, I believe. He's round. Elsewhere throughout the grid, looks like everyone has got through okay, and it is MCL from Billy Mewis. Jamsey fighting round the outside of Ben Trott. Lovely move on the opening lap from Jamsey. Puts himself up into third as we've got more drivers jockeying for position as we go into the chicane. Little bits of contact as it's very hard to make 2 cars squeeze through there. Looks like everyone is through smoothly. Ollie Southall got a 10-second penalty very early on as we've got another yellow flag, and that is Durex who's round just on the exit of the chicane, I believe. But luckily for him, keeping himself within touch of the rest of the grid. But a dream lap for MCL so far. Led away from pole position, and he will definitely be a man to try and fight. MCL is gaining on the back of that Sauber, but doesn't look like he's getting close enough as we roll towards the end of lap 1. You can see the position gain on the left hand of your screen. Dinosaur is the big gainer, up 5 positions for Aston Martin, as we can see Matt Connor and Gingernut still jostling away for position there, as Ollie Southall is losing a few positions and definitely looks like he's had a bit of a moment on the final corner, as Sidemen has really caught back up and is going for it on the inside, looking towards the outside now of the Red Bull. This is going to get very tight as the corner tightens up as he looks to go round the outside. Nothing doing for Sidemen. Gingernut with good defence as the DRS is enabled, and is Billy Mewis finally able to mount an attack on MCL, as there's a big slide there for Humbled, and he's going to lose a lot of positions. F1 Mikey Boy already up into 6th place. And Hoare just going to look to try and insert himself in this fight as Mikey goes a little bit wide, and thanks to the ghosting feature, Humbled manages to gain those positions back once more. But F1 Mikey Boy, a decent opening lap, up 3 positions thus far. Definitely a little bit weird to see Mikey down in 7th place, but I'm sure if there's anyone that's going to execute some sort of comeback, it will be him. Now, 5 tenths is the gap between Billy and between MCL. Both of them absolutely draining their batteries, but it will be Billy with the DRS. And there you can see the change for the lead on lap 2. MCL knew that that was coming, and Billy moves up into the lead of this race. It's still Jamsey in 3rd, although Meloon, it seems, has got ahead of him. I'm receiving invites. Maybe there's been a bit of a lobby glitch or something, as it's still telling me that Jamsey is running in 3rd, but he is evidently not running in 3rd, or is he? No, he is now. Okay, that was very weird. There seems to be some sort of connection issue, I would have said, as 2 seconds behind now is Meloon, and Ben Trott looking to gain on the Haas driver towards the next right-hander, nothing doing for him, and he will stick in 5th. Humbled currently in 6th place after that little bit of a wobble, as Mikey has dropped all the way down to 9th. Oddly enough, I can't remember where that happened. I must say, that's a little bit weird. Dinosaur still gaining positions, though, up 6 places now is the Aston Martin driver, and still looking to gain even more on the back of Andy Price. Looking towards the tyre allocation, absolutely everyone on the medium compound tyres, bar Matt Connor and Sidemen, the 2 Ferraris on the hard compound tyres. Absolutely everyone else is on the mediums. Lap 3 of 25 of this Las Vegas Grand Prix, and Sidemen looking at the back of his teammate, looking at the side of his teammate, going past his teammate, and Ginger Nut going to look to make a similar move as there's big contact into that final corner, and into the wall goes Ginger Nut there, and that's going to be big damage for the Red Bull, looking to go round the outside, and Ginger Nut immediately switches over, and towards the pit lane he will now come. And Ginger Nut, was that maybe the wrong time to go for a move? Matt Connor also dives into the pits, so evidently picked up damage there as well, as there's Ginger Nut and Matt Connor both retiring from the session on lap 4 of 25. And for Ginger Nut, I'm sure you can imagine the frustrations in the cockpit, as once again Mikey losing mass positions, and we've got big yellow flags here as there seems to be some sort of crash. Mikey doesn't seem to have sustained any damage, and there's even more contact as we've got Hash nearly going round. We've got Dinosaur taking to the runoff area and getting a penalty, as there's even more contact on the exit of the corner, and this is starting to get feisty in this Las Vegas Grand Prix. Only lap 4, we've still got 21 laps to go, and this is really beginning to kick off. As down the inside goes Hash, cuts off the track, and into the wall goes the Alpine driver. Looks to get that car righted once more, but there is damage on that front wing. Doesn't look to be major damage, so I wouldn't imagine he'll have to box. As out in front, we see Humbled managing to get past Ben Trott, and Billy Mewis going back into the lead of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. MCL almost pushing him through the final corner. A lot of battery saved for MCL, but not choosing to use it at this moment. Jamsey is still in that fight with the leaders, so a 3-car battle for the lead as it stands. We've then got Humbled, Jamsey's teammate, about 2.5 seconds behind, but it's so hard to gain time with that massive DRS zone, and there are DRS zones pretty much everywhere in the first sector and in the third sector, and it is so hard to gain that time back as MCL back down the inside of Billy Mewis and back up into the lead of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. And it is getting a little bit darker, I must say. We are now officially under the lights here in Las Vegas on lap 5. Getting dark very, very quickly, I must say. As Ben Trott gets a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting. And that's a bit of a weird one, I must say. Ben Trott I believe, qualified third on the grid. Definitely not having a race that he will want to look back on at all. Jamsey is gaining on Billy. Billy is gaining on MCL, but MCL just choosing to save a bit of that battery for now as MCL continues to drain. Billy now is deploying that overtake button with the DRS. Are we going to see an overtake for the lead? We're not. There are yellow flags, though, at the back of the grid, and this is between Hash Liggs and Ollie Southall. Doesn't look like there's any new damage to any of these cars, as Dinosaur once again gains a position on F1 Mikey Boy. And F1 Mikey Boy, I've got to say, this is one of the biggest race struggles I've ever seen him have, to be honest. And he's now going to dive into the pit lane. Very, very early stop. So I wonder, is there potentially damage on that Sauber? As Hall manages to get through on Ben Trott. Ben Trott immediately gaining that position back once more. But is Mikey coming in for a change of front wing? It isn't. So that is just a very early stop for F1 Mikey Boy. Evidently looking to potentially make an undercut, one would assume. Out in front, it is still MCL that's leading. It looks like we've got a yellow flag in the middle sector. That's involving Dinosaur and Andy Price. Ben Trott. Ah, it's for Ben Trott. My apologies. As Ben Trott was running in 5th, now down in 11th place. I don't see any damage to the front wing of that Aston Martin, but definitely having a moment. Picked up the 10-second penalty, I believe, just one lap ago. And now down to 11th, the podium sitter as he was in qualifying. Definitely not having a race he'd want, and clouting the walls out of the final corner as we go towards the Las Vegas strip. And that is damage on the front wing of the Aston Martin, and surely will be coming into the pits for a new front wing at the end of this lap. All remaining stable out in front between Billy and MCL, as MCL looks to be diving in for his one and only pit stop of this Las Vegas Grand Prix. The MCL stops on his mark, gets into the pit lane nice and comfortably, and that leads Jamsey and Billy out in front to fight for the lead. But if they do fight, all that's going to cause is MCL to get an even bigger undercut, and that is not going to be what Billy and Jamsey want. They need to be stuck to the back of him, because if you give MCL a chance to pull a gap, he will most certainly take that opportunity. 3.3 seconds is the gap between Humboldt and his teammate Jamsey. That's the fight for second and third, and Ben Trott does come into the pits to retire from this race, and definitely not a race to the standards of Ben Trott that he would have liked. It's Hoare who's in 4th place, with Mikey GTI in 5th, Meloon 6th, and Nova Piper is in 7th. Big lag issues for Nova Piper. We've seen that quite a lot in recent weeks, but he is really starting to lag. He is trying to make his way through the field, though, currently in 7th place. His next target is Meloon, currently in 6th, as Hoare makes his way past Humboldt and up into 3rd place. Jamsey looking to maybe gain a little bit on Billy, but Billy absolutely deploying everything in the energy store to make sure that he keeps that lead. Humboldt manages to get back through on Hoare and up into 3rd place. And is there going to be a pit stop now from the two leaders? They're not. They're going to overcut. Billy Mewis, we know, the maestro of overcutting in the Tuesdays tier, absolutely loves to deploy an overcut. The question is what one's going to be quicker, because MCL is gaining, and gaining very quickly. Meloon comes into the pits, and that will give Nova Piper a bit of a sigh of relief, as he is now released to set after Mikey GTI just ahead of him. Dinosaur also came into the pits, and that will be music to MCL's ears, who will have clean air to try and gain up back to the rear wing of the Mercedes and the McLaren ahead of him. And MCL, a gap 4.5 seconds. Car ahead of him is Sidemen, who is yet to make a stop, as Liggs and Ollie Southall also come into the pit lane. Lap 8 of 25 of this Las Vegas Grand Prix, and it is Billy Mewis that leads from Jamsey. And Jamsey, is he maybe going to look for a move on this lap to get into the lead of the Grand Prix for the first time? Billy and MCL Our only two leaders so far. Jamsey deploying just a little bit of battery, but looks like he's happy enough to stick behind the McLaren 4 now and just take the DRS benefit. Billy absolutely draining his battery once more to try and stay ahead, but Jamsey is not interested in an overtake at all. Hoare and Humbled still battling his away as we go into the final corner. We've got Mikey GTI down the inside, 3 abreast into the final corner, and surely this can't end well, but they all managed to get through. A big snap for Mikey on the exit, and Humbled is going to look to gain that position back again. Hoare's the man that's really dropped out of this fight as Jamsey now comes into the pits, and this becomes a battle for the podium positions. Mikey GTI, a lovely opportunist move down the inside, and as the Haas and Mercedes-Benz squabbled away into the final corner, the Alpine said, thank you very much, I'll be taking that position, and through he goes. And what that's done is let Nova Piper really gain onto the back of this fight in the McLaren, and this could be where it gets a little bit scary. As Nova Piper, with those lag issues, you can see on board with him, so incredibly laggy. I would honestly be quite scared if that was what I was racing against, I must admit. As Mikey Boy makes his way past Meloon and up into 9th place. That is a crucial move for Mikey, who can now try and see if he can gain on MCL. The real big difference is, though, Jamsey, having pit just 2 laps after MCL, comes out 3.5 seconds behind. And that gap's only going to be bigger for Billy. And MCL in clean air, we know that he will be gaining a hell of a lot of time. I think this is the wrong call from McLaren and from Mercedes. As MCL with the undercut, surely going to gain masses and masses of on-track time. And this is only going to help him forward as we've got these 3 cars battling once again into the final corners. Mikey GTI really starting to struggle on those tyres now as Humbled is going to dive into the pit lane, as is Nova Piper. And Mikey GTI and Hoare will continue this battle through turn number 1. Billy Mewis still staying out on the medium tyres, banking on the fact that he will have a tyre offset. MCL right on the back of Sidemen, though, will only be gaining more time with the DRS that he is gaining behind that Ferrari. Doesn't look like it's enough to try and gain on the Ferrari. It doesn't seem like he wants to gain on the Ferrari now. Happy to sit behind and take the DRS. Further down the grid, we've got Humbled, who's just come out ahead of Meloon and Nova Piper. They're right behind F1 Mikey Boy. And Mikey looking to act pretty much like a human roadblock and try and get himself through. MCL finally makes the move on Sidemen, but crucially, he may have done it at the wrong place here because Sidemen will have the DRS and a hell of a lot of battery to try and get back through on the Sauber. He makes a little bit of a mistake coming out the final corner. MCL will have the batteries. We've got a yellow flag, and that's for Hash once more, who's gone off again. And big damage to the left side of the front wing of that Alpine. Surely Hash back in for a new front wing at the end of this lap. As he comes through now towards the final couple of corners, you can just see that damage really affecting the Alpine. Humble does manage to get through on F1 Mikey Boy. Meloon just has to sit behind, and Billy Mewis gets a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And that's absolutely huge for the outcome of this race, as MCL now goes through into the lead. Jamsey goes through into 3rd. MCL is now leading by a mile in this race, considering who he was battling. And it's now Billy Mewis in 4th position. And I mean, we can look at the gap to leader. It's nearly 10 seconds, plus a 10-second penalty. And Billy Mewis surely has just absolutely thrown away his chances of a Las Vegas win. It's MCL that leads, and with 14 laps to go now, all he's really got to do is coax his way to the end, because Jamsey is not gaining on him. Billy Mewis, even if he does gain on him, will not have the time to get out of that 10-second penalty range. Humbled is in 5th as Hash is into the pits to retire from the session, and you can't really blame him after the race that he's had. But out in front, it is MCL from Sidemen. Jamsey in the final podium position. It is then Billy Mewis who's in 4th, with Humbled in 5th. F1 Mikey Boy doing a great job to stick with these guys and remain in 6th place. Just looks like... Oh, I was going to say he's fallen out of the DRS, but the DRS does come up very late here as Jamsey moves up into 2nd past Sidemen. One of, well, the only driver to not have pitted yet in this Grand Prix. It was him and Matt Connor, his Ferrari teammate, who were trying the alternate strategy, starting on the hards, ending on either the mediums or the softs. Matt Connor, unfortunately, involved in a tangle at the final corner with Gingernut, and both of them out of the Grand Prix. And I must say, it's very weird seeing Mikey battling for a position like 6th. Mikey, normally, you would imagine, at least in the top 3, top 4. But that undercut, working well for him, just bringing himself back into this race for the time being. Sidemen doing a good job in 3rd, but will obviously lose a heap of positions when he comes into pit. He's just got to make sure he doesn't leave it too late to the point where he doesn't have enough time to overtake cars. But we've got to also hope that he comes in at a time where it's not too early and the tyres don't die off towards the end of his stint and he starts sliding back again. That is the crucial game to the alternate strategy for Sidemen. Can he pull it off? Sidemen, his rise to the top really has been very quick and very interesting to watch. When he initially joined NRRL, a little bit towards the back end, maybe not a driver you'd see up here, especially not making those sorts of strategy calls. Well, Sidemen in recent weeks has taken podiums, yet to take that maiden win. But with strategies and pace like this, he's definitely getting closer to it. Billy Mewis has won before, but I think it's definitely quite possible that we could rule him out of the win under the lights tonight. Jamsey is within 1.4 seconds of MCL and looking to bring that deficit down. But for MCL, when he gets into the lead of the race, he's just like Lewis Hamilton. He knows how to control it. He knows how to stay in the lead of a Grand Prix. If there's anything MCL's got to work on, it definitely is when he doesn't start on pole position, when he's in sort of a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. He does find it a little bit hard and he maybe makes those mistakes. But from leading out in front, you will never see a more comfortable driver than MCL. Jamsey is looking to try and get in that DRS, but isn't going to do it. And I think his battle is now going to falter as MCL, with plenty more battery than the Mercedes, will just fly away down the Las Vegas Strip. And that gap will open up more and more. Meloon picked up a 3-second penalty for those corner cutting warnings. Currently in 8th, battling away with Nova Piper. Hoare, his teammate, is going to have a great chance of getting past Mike. He doesn't even need the DRS as he pulls to the inside. And now the question is, Meloon close enough? No, because Nova Piper is going down the inside and making his way past the Haas. So where one Haas gains, one Haas loses. And Nova Piper still lagging all over the place, and that is giving Meloon the chance to try and fight back. Sidemen finally comes into the pit lane, avoids making the mistake of getting a 10-second penalty. Medium tyres go on for Ferrari, and he will now come out into the race and look to try and make those medium tyres work, get some overtakes done. He will emerge in 12th. Let's see where Sidemen can get to. We've got 9 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Or should I say, yeah, 9 laps to go in this Grand Prix. No, 11 laps to go, sorry, in this Grand Prix. I didn't really sleep much last night, and I'm sure you can tell. Nova Piper still in 7th, with Mikey Boy holding on in 6th, but you can imagine it's only a matter of time until Nova Piper manages to get through up into 6th place. But lagging around is the McLaren. Definitely something you don't really want to see in your mirrors when you're league racing. is the driver you're fighting absolutely lagging their rear end off. He is gaining towards the back of Mikey. Mikey not with much battery. Here comes the McLaren on Mikey towards the inside. Won't even need the braking zone of the final chicane. And Nova Piper is through into 6th place. Hoare is right on the back of Humboldt and looking to gain into 4th. We've got a yellow flag there, and that is for Durex, who's off into the runoff. The corner just before the Las Vegas Strip. Doesn't look like there's any damage to the Williams driver, but definitely not the racing line that you'd want to be taking if you are a Durex toy, as Ollie Southall, his teammate, is now gaining on him. Out in front though, with 10 laps to go, MCL leading comfortably, as he always does. It is Jamsey who's in second. Billy Mewis is in third and is gaining on Jamsey, but with that 10-second penalty, you feel it's going to be very hard for Billy Mewis to have any sort of impact in this Grand Prix. We've got 10 laps to go. That means Billy Mewis would need to get past Jamsey here and then gain about 1.3 seconds per lap on Jamsey to try and get out of that penalty duct. Although Jamsey's been off somewhere, because Jamsey's got massive damage. You can see on the left side of that front wing, big damage there for Jamsey. And where that's happened, I'm not sure, but that has to be recent. And Jamsey surely coming into the pit lane at the end of this lap. He is going to fight Billy Mewis back again into the chicane, but surely, yeah, you can see the understeer because of the damage. And surely Jamsey will be coming into the pits. No, he's going to stay out with it. Or is he? No, he's now diving into the pit lane, and heartbreak for Jamsey, who has looked dead certain and gets a 10-second penalty as well. Looked dead certain for a podium position, and now that swings to Hoare and Humboldt as MCL actually comes into the pits again for hard compound tyres. So maybe we are looking at a 2-stop race here, as MCL comes out wheel to wheel with Sidemen. Sidemen manages to get the position, and Sidemen, we know, on that comeback on the medium tyres after starting on the alternate strategy, definitely isn't going to lay down and let MCL past. That is for sure. As in the lead now is Billy Mewis. It is Hoare who is in second, Humboldt in third, just looking to try and gain the DRS on Hoare, which he has successfully done. Hoare will have a great chance of trying to get past the McLaren of Billy Mewis here. I believe that was Humboldt just tagging the wall as they came out of the final corner. But here goes the Haas then. I don't believe Hoare has ever led a race in NRRL before. He's going to look to right that wrong right now. As with the DRS he's gaining. With the ERS he is gaining. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough though. Just saves the ERS for another time as Mikey GTI gets up into 5th and Sidemen gets past Andy Price up into 7th. MCL goes through as well. Just doesn't have the straight line speed to get past Sidemen in the Ferrari. But he's going to use the overtake now to try and get through. He's absolutely draining the overtake button to try and get through. Sidemen has no choice but to let him go because he doesn't have the battery to fight it. And MCL up into 6th place now as Dinosaur gains some positions as Meloon and Andy Price dive into the pit lane. And was that a car going off there? That was Liggs just going a little bit wide through the final corner. Definitely not the racing line you would want to take through the final corner, and Liggs is going to come into the pit lane. There is a little... No, there's no damage, sorry, on the front wing of that V-Carb, he will come into the pits for his second pit stop of the race. Durex gets a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, but our eyes now sharply back on the front of the grid. As we can see, the Haas versus the McLaren. The Haas with so much more battery. Surely it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to get past here. As down the Las Vegas Strip we go, truly under the lights now. Using the ERS, draining the ERS, using the DRS to the inside he goes. And for the first time ever in NRRL, Hoare leads a Grand Prix. The Las Vegas Grand Prix is now led by Haas. Billy Mewis will look to try and fight this one back, but Hoare, with plenty more battery, will be able to get past. AK, I am on PC, my friend. If you are asking about the league, then absolutely everyone is on different platforms. You've got people on Xbox, you've got people on PlayStation, people on PC. Me, myself, though, I am indeed on PC. As Billy Mewis and Hoare have just dropped Humbled a little bit. Humbled surely will be looking to try and gain back that time, though. Nova Piper currently running in 4th. MCL 4.4 seconds behind, and it doesn't really look like he's actually gaining that much time on the cars ahead of him. Sidemen still right behind MCL as well, and will definitely appreciate being dragged along. As through the chicane we go, definitely easy to lose traction there, as Meloon and Mikey Boy absolutely scrapping away in the middle sector. We're on board with the Sauber of Mikey, currently running down in 10th place, which is not a place that you would expect Mikey to be. But that is where he finds himself in this Las Vegas Grand Prix. Little tag of the wall there for Mikey, as Billy manages to get back through on Hoare and back up into the lead, but plenty more battery for the Haas driver, and surely this isn't going to be the end of their fight. Jamsey and Mikey now going at it. Is Hoare going to use the overtake button to try and get back past? He uses a little bit, but isn't really too concerned with retaking the lead at this point. Jamsey is now fighting away with Meloon and Mikey. Mikey manages to get clear. Jamsey manages to get clear. Meloon loses a handful of positions in one straight line, as Jamsey came into the pits about 2 laps ago looking to recover his race after that front wing damage. But I must say, if Billy and Hoare can keep these tyres going to the end, MCL may have really been done over. MCL is gaining a bit of time now, but I don't think he's gaining enough to really rock up to the back of the Haas and the McLaren. We could definitely see a situation maybe where he gains on the final lap and has to make a final lap move if he wants to get past, as we've got another yellow flag, and that's for Durex once again going off towards the Las Vegas Strip into the runoff section. No damage sustained for the Williams driver, but definitely a massive loss of time as Hoare manages to get back through into the lead. MCL is starting to gain, but with only, 5 laps to go now in this Grand Prix, or about to be 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix, should I say, I don't see a world in which MCL is going to have enough time to gain. Hoare goes defensive as Billy goes to the outside. Nothing Hoare can do. Has to give up the position, but we know Billy, with that 10-second time penalty, currently is going to be looking at, I believe, around 7th place. So Billy really driving for his life out here. Hoare driving for a maiden Grand Prix win. I believe he only made his debut last week. And Hoare already looking for a debut victory. MCL is gaining, but not enough. Sidemen's challenge has dropped off of the Sauber. The gap now at 1.2 seconds between the Ferrari and the Sauber. And with only 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix now, I am absolutely convinced that Billy and Hoare have played this absolutely beautifully and are surely on course to lead this one home, with Hoare potentially taking home a maiden Grand Prix victory. He is going to look around this little right-hander. Very hard to make a move there. A very unorthodox place to make a move. But Hoare with 100% battery, completely filling up that battery. And now down the main straight he goes. Is there a chance for the Haas to try and get past? You would surely imagine there is. He's in the slipstream. He's draining the battery. He's going to get the DRS now. And to the inside, it's as easy as a move as you're ever going to get here at Las Vegas. And down the inside he goes, back up into the lead. Nova Piper moves up into 3rd place. And what a day for McLaren this would be if it weren't for Billy Mewis's 10-second time penalty. Currently 2 cars in the podium positions. And I'll tell you what, if MCL can gain on this battle, he's definitely not going to find it easy to get past. As Nova Piper, Humbled and Mikey GTI, 3 very aggressive drivers and 3 drivers that aren't going to wave you through. Especially with Nova Piper's lag, as we've got a yellow flag there, and that is Dinosaur, I believe, getting tangled up with Andy Price. Doesn't look like there's any damage for either of them. But Dinosaur is, well, he was looking towards the pit lane, but decided to stay out, albeit MCL is gaining on that battle. But with the DRS that they're all giving each other, that is going to slow down MCL's progress. He's got to gain his time through the corners, and he's got to gain it quickly because there's only about 3.5 laps to go of this Grand Prix. Nova Piper is pulling the challenge towards Billy and towards Hoare though. 1.8 seconds is the gap, and that is surely only going to get closer, and surely there is going to be a chance for this pack of 3, potentially pack of 4 with MCL gaining. As MCL now only 1.3 seconds behind. Here we go then down the main straight. Billy moves up, and is there maybe a chance now that Billy tries to hold the Haas driver up to push him back into his teammate Nova Piper? Humbled is right on the back of Nova Piper and looking to make a move, as we've got Durex coming into the pits to retire from the Grand Prix. MCL, you can see there, lost about half a second, well over half a second. He's lost about a second there as Mikey and Humbled go wheel to wheel into turn 1. Mikey looking to hang it around the outside, but not enough grip there, and Humbled will take the position away. Nova Piper still running in second as Hoare realises the threat behind, knows he has to go for the move early, and does make it back into the lead. And this could be the little thing that plays on Hoare's mind now that could maybe cost him. He's got a chance at his first Grand Prix victory in Formula 1. He knows that Billy and Nova will be working together, and he will not want to drop into second place. And with it being his first time as well, he's going to have those little nerves, as especially it's really the business end of this race now. Lap 22 of 25. This is going to get really close, and Hoare, you just know the nerves will be coming in. But Billy has used a lot of his battery. Hoare actually putting it into none though. Still driving the race as he wants to. Nova is gaining on them. MCL has now joined. So it's a 4-car fight between Nova Piper, Mikey GTI, Humbled and MCL. And this is where it's really going to pay dividends that Hoare and Billy Mewis stay ahead. Hoare did stay ahead into the final corner. That is massive for his race, as we are now about to go on to lap 23 and 2 laps remain of this Grand Prix. And for the Haas driver, looking at his first Grand Prix victory in Formula 1, he is doing absolutely everything he needs to be able to take this one home. Billy Mewis in second would have had a chance of being up there with him, but with a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, he has well and truly been taken out of this Grand Prix. It is Nova Piper who is in third and on for a podium position, but that gap to the 2 leaders, it just doesn't look like it's growing or it's being gained on enough. Nova Piper just doesn't look like he's quick enough to bring this 4-car fight into the pack. MCL made his way past Humbled and up into 5th. If MCL gets to the head of this train, then I think Hoare and Billy Mewis have really got a problem. But with Nova Piper, Nova looks like he's struggling, so I believe they're safe. But if MCL on this straight can try and get past Mikey and then Nova Piper, I think the 2 leaders have really, really got something on their minds. As Ollie Southall, another yellow flag, and retires on track from this race. And that is frowned upon in NRRL, so I wouldn't have imagined that's going to do him well in the steward's room, but nowhere near him, so it won't actually affect anyone. As Hoare keeps the lead once more through the final corner, and we move on to the penultimate lap of this race. And Hoare, looking at a maiden Grand Prix win, Surely now the nerves start to settle in as he can taste an opportunity of a first Grand Prix victory. Haas took a gamble when they hired him. They knew it was his debut. They knew he wasn't proven in NRRL. But he is most definitely showing them that he was worth it. Leading the race currently. And this is surely going to be a firecracker end to this Grand Prix. MCL will surely be smashing his desk, knowing that if he hadn't have pitted, he surely would have been the man to win this race. He looked absolutely unstoppable starting from pole position, but after he pitted, the pace just was not there. And now he's stuck in this gaggle of cars, looking at best, realistically, a third place, but still stuck behind Mikey, who is still stuck behind Nova, and a little bit of a mistake there from MCL, going a little bit deep, and now Humbled is going to look to try and gain on the back of the Sauber. The Sauber with a lot more battery though, but that mistake has really cost him a lot of time, as Hoare has actually broken the DRS, or well had, for a moment, broken the DRS to Billy Mewis. Mikey, is he close enough to go for a move on Nova Piper? It doesn't look like it. MCL's nowhere near enough, close enough to go for a move on Mikey GTI, as we move on to the final tour of the Las Vegas Strip circuit, and Hoare just has a few mere kilometers to go. He's broken the DRS on Billy Mewis, and this is his chance to get a maiden Grand Prix victory in Formula 1. It will have only taken him 2 races to get this maiden Grand Prix victory, and what a drive it's been from him. The strategy was perfect. The qualifying strategy was good with his teammate, giving each other a slipstream down the infamous Las Vegas Strip. And what a way to win your first Grand Prix against such a classification of drivers that are so proven and so quick. The likes of Billy Mewis, the likes of Nova Piper, MCL, F1 Mikey Boy. To win your first Grand Prix in a division like this, at a track like this that is oh so technical, what a feat. And Hoare is putting people on notice that he is definitely one to watch in this division. It's going to take him 1 race to get used to the car, and then 1 race to become a winner. 2 races in total. He will be one of the quickest debutants in NRRL to win a Grand Prix. Nobody expected him to be here. Everyone came here today thinking MCL's got this in the bag. Billy Mewis will be up there. Potentially Nova Piper, F1 Mikey Boy. Hoare, take a bow, young man. He has absolutely dominated the field when he's needed to. And for the first time ever, it is Haas and Hoare on top as he wins the Las Vegas Grand Prix with a beautiful drive. It is Nova Piper who will take second place, and it is Mikey GTI who finishes in third. MCL, a disappointing race with damage at the end as well, finishes in fourth, and it is Humbled who will come home in fifth, with Sidemen in sixth. A good drive from Sidemen. Billy Mewis finishes in seventh with his penalty. Jamsey will drop down the order with a 10-second penalty as well. So it will be F1 Mikey Boy that finishes in a disappointing 8th. Meloon will finish 9th with Jamsey in 10th. Andy Price finishes in 11th with Dinosaur coming home in 12th, and Liggs finishing 13th. With Ollie Southall, Durex Hash, Ben Trott, Matt Connor and Ginger Nut failing to reach the flag. Wow, what a race that was, and a debutant winner in the form of Hoare. Incredible stuff from the Haas driver. A new winner in NRRL is crowned today. I could not be more happy for him. Hoare, take a bow. Congratulations as he makes his way to the top step of the podium for the first time ever. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And there is your classification, ladies and gentlemen. It is the race winner of Hoare. It is fastest lap going to Dinosaur. Driver of the day being Nova Piper, with most overtakes, and cleanest driver going to Sidemen. And there are your results, with Hoare winning his first ever Grand Prix. Nova Piper finishes in second, with Mikey GTI taking the final step of the podium. MCL from pole position falls to fourth after trying to make the two-stop work, but nothing doing for him. Humbled finishes in 5th with Sidemen in 6th position. Great strategy and drive from him. Billy Mewis finishes in 7th with that 10-second penalty. It's F1 Mikey Boy that finishes in 8th with Meloon in 9th and Jamsey just holding on to a points-paying position, albeit with that 10-second penalty. Andy Price finishes in 11th with Liggs finishing 12th and Dinosaur finishing 13th. Ollie Southall finishes 14th with Durex, Hash, Ben Trott, Matt Connor and Gingernutt all failing to reach the flag. Well, thank you to everyone for watching. If you are new on TikTok or on Twitch, do be sure to drop a follow down below. We will be back on Friday for the 100% race and you will be live with Dave. Once again, thank you very much for watching and we will see you later. From me to you, I've been Jack, your commentator. And again, from me to you, take care.